Hey man, you should play Kurohyou. It's absolute cinema. Kurohyou is honestly the best Yakuza spin-off and is so underrated. Kurohyou games are incredible. Definitely play them ASAP.
Don't tell me what to do.
JK.
Okay, fine, yeah, let's do it. After a good chunk of time passed, and I kept delaying it, and so on and so forth, until finally I said, nah, it's time to play Kurohyou. See what the whole shebang is. Is it truly that good? Oh hey, who was that? Was that Tatsuya Ukiyo, the protagonist of Kurohyou? Well, let's see what he has to say. Okay, as far as intros go, this was definitely one of my weakest, but whatever. So, Kurohyou. I'm gonna vent about it right now because this game was rather hyped up to me. 90% of the time I heard good things about it. And 16 hours later, after finishing it up, what do I gotta say? Oh boy, what do I gotta say about it? So, I'll not be sugarcoating it. This game is good at times. But overall, this entire package, I think, is easily the weakest RGG game, besides Yakuza 1 PS2. Now, before you get your pitchforks and before you heat action my ass, I'm gonna say some stuff about it. So let me rant a bit, okay? So let's get into it. I'll start off with a tiny bit of context. Kurohyou is a spin-off in which you play as Tatsuya, a 17-year-old, I think, protagonist that at the start straight up kills someone. Naturally, the plot explains what happens later, but I'm referring to the start. And then plot happens, and he has to win 10 matches for him to gain his freedom and that stuff. From the start, it starts off interesting. Like, I was actually kinda hooked in the first hour or two, but even from the combat tutorial, I felt off. I didn't dislike the combat, but I also didn't like it. So I just said, okay, well, at least the premise and story so far is interesting. We'll see how it unravels. Like I said, the game got me a tad bit hooked. Well, hooked is a wrong word. Intrigued would be more precise, because hooked means I would play that shit for like 5 hours straight, and this game I barely played like 2 hours at most. Hence taking a good 10 days to beat it with only like 16 hours of playtime. Intrigued because I was curious. The more I played it, however, the more annoyed I got, the more indifferent I got. There were times the game was great, yes, like, it does have some decent highs, but I think compared to any RGG game, I don't think they're up there. The more battles I fought, the more annoyed I got. Random encounters became a slog and annoying, despite being somewhat easy, depending on the enemy type. Tatsuya started off okay, but little by little I just disliked him more. Until maybe the final 3 chapters I actively disliked and was like, hey, people seriously think he's a good protagonist? I just find him unlikable, and I get why. It's the character archetype of mean guy with no friends that can only fight and has a generic predictable arc. I just don't find that enjoyable, especially since now that I've seen that whole character so many times in RGG alone, let alone other games. But yeah, Kurohyou's story was decent, okay, like, it was showcased very well with those PSP handicapped comic-esque cutscenes that had no reason to go that hard, yet I loved them and genuinely think they were one of the standouts of the game, right beside the OST. Speaking of, the OST alone would lift up the game. Disregarding that Your Knife Feels So Good is one of the best battle themes in the series, everything else slaps so fucking hard it made my cheeks turn red. So yeah, the story is okay to good even. Tatsuya I dislike a good chunk, even if he redeems himself by the end. The OST is incredible, the art style is incredible. Now let's see what the deal with the combat is. It's a PSP game, and this type of combat would work sometimes, only in 1v1s. Even then it felt janky and just suboptimal. But when we get to multiple enemies at once, it shits the bed already. It's just not very enjoyable. The controls are kind of annoying. Tatsuya's movesets are limited, depending on the styles. And yeah, I only had 4 styles unlocked, but I stuck with Muay Thai the whole game. Even if I were to try the other styles, I just didn't like the combat enough to warrant attempting to unlock the others. It was serviceable, you know, sometimes enjoyable, but most of the time it was tolerable. Enemies later on had a lot of health and the fights dragged on a bit, and yes, I know Kurohyou 2 is infinitely worse in that regard, but spoiler alert, I won't be playing Kurohyou 2 anytime soon, if at all.
Look at all the heat actions I'm using. Look at all the attacks I'm doing on him. This is a street encounter, by the way. Let me remind you guys of that. Look, everything is maxed. Everything.
The combat just felt like a chore to me, and it's the first RGG game where it felt like a chore. Hell, this is the first RGG game I was actively mad at certain points. Most of the times I was annoyed at most in RGG games. Like for example, Lost Paradise annoying me a lot, Pirate Yakuza annoying me a good chunk sometimes, or the Saijima hunting section in Yakuza 5 and so on and so forth. But this was the first time I was unironically fuming at certain things, like the camera, like the like the random encounters only spawning when it's almost too late to react and run away from them. Mad from enemies spamming certain moves and so on. Kurohyou is a decent game. Like, okay, it is. It's better than Yakuza 1 PS2, so it's above like a 6.5 at least. It's a good game at times, but most of the times it's just not that fun to me. Especially given how hyped it was. Characters were good at least. Saki, Takanaka, Kuki, and the announcer bro.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. On the head, the mad dragon. Ukyo Tatsuya.
They alone were insanely good. The final villain shows up out of nowhere and is fucking trash. But besides that, oh god, wait, the final boss was insanely lame. Probably one of the most lame final bosses. Bro makes Raymond look like a good boss, story-wise and difficulty, that is. Kurohyou is, at best, a good enough game, and at worst, it's barely tolerable. I personally don't understand why people praise Tatsuya, why they praise the combat, and so on. I don't detract from those people. If you like it, you like it. I love Yakuza 4, I love Gaiden, I fucking love Dead Souls. But still, it didn't feel like it made an impact on me. Am I glad I played it? Usually I would say yes, definitely, but now I'll say kinda. I mean, I experienced the OST at least, but the game itself is just not that memorable for me. So I won't be playing 2, or if I do, I won't finish it. I'll probably just give it a shot just to see how it is. Tatsuya isn't interesting for me. The combat would benefit from a Kiwami, and just, I don't know. That's the bottom of B tier for me. Like, if you like the game, I'm happy for you, but personally, this was the new weakest RGG game. It's not the most flawed game because that still belongs to Lost Paradise, but Lost Paradise is a great game mired by questionable flaws and BS padding. This game is at most a good enough game mired by mediocre combat, a mid-protagonist, and being a PSP game. So, yeah. It gets a 6.8 out of 10, in the ballpark of 6.5 to 7, I don't know, somewhere there. It's better than Yakuza 1 on the PS2, but like, I don't know. Sorry Kurohyou fans, but you overhyped this one big time. That's about it. See you next video and bye bye.